Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today, I'm going to show you how to create a 3D artwork where you can design your own raised patterns and text in relief. We'll also explore how to achieve a beautifully oxidized, aged finish that gives the piece depth, texture, and character. Let's get started. For this piece, we'll be working on a 40 cm round canvas. That's approximately 16 inches in diameter. On top of it, I'm going to attach a smaller round cardboard panel measuring 30 centimeters, which is about 12 inches in diameter. This layered base will help us create dimension and enhance the 3D effect of the final artwork. Using a brush, I apply Caporal to adhere the cardboard panel to the canvas. You can also use other adhesives, such as matte medium. The key is to choose something strong enough to hold the panel securely in place. Now I'm placing a stencil with a pattern that I really like onto the surface. I'll secure it in place using masking tape to make sure it doesn't move while I apply the texture. Using a spatula, I apply modeling paste over the stencil. You can use any modeling paste you prefer, but I recommend choosing one that contains polymers, as this will help prevent cracking over time and keep the texture durable. Now we'll let it dry completely before moving on to the next step. Patience is important here to preserve the texture and avoid damaging the relief. Using a ruler, I carefully measure and mark the points where I want to apply the texture on this round canvas. This helps me keep the composition balanced and ensures that the raised elements are placed exactly where I want them. We'll continue using the same stencil and repeat the process. I secure it again with masking tape to prevent it from shifting, and then, using my spatula, I apply the modeling paste evenly over the surface to build up the relief. I repeat this process as many times as needed, depending on how many textured elements I want to incorporate into the canvas. You can adjust the number of repetitions based on the complexity and density you'd like to achieve in your final composition. Now, I'm using a letter stencil to write Paris, applying one letter at a time. This allows me to position each letter carefully and build up the texture individually for a more precise and controlled result. Next, we'll add numbers using the same technique. Let everything dry completely. Next, we begin by brushing a generous layer of gesso over the entire surface. This not only strengthens the piece and hardens the textures, but also creates a smooth, consistent base that will make the next painting steps much easier and more effective. Let it dry again. Now I'm applying a rust mixture. There are many brands available, depending on where you live and your budget. Some options are very affordable, like rusty powder, while others can be more expensive. On my Patreon, I share all the specific products I use, so you can see exactly what works best for this effect. Depending on the brand you choose, the drying time of the rust mixture may vary. Some formulas take longer to dry, while others set more quickly. This doesn't affect the final result, but just be aware so you can plan your next steps accordingly. Next, I'll mix in some vinegar to trigger the corrosion reaction with the rust mixture, along with a few pigments from my Spanish palette, including cadmium tones. This combination helps create natural-looking rust effects with depth, color variation, and authentic texture. At this point, make sure to like the video if you're enjoying the content. It really helps me keep sharing more tutorials on my channel. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. I read all of them, but I only reply to those who are subscribed to the channel. So now you know what to do. Using a dropper, I carefully pour my mixture onto the canvas, and then, with a brush, I spread it evenly across the entire surface. I apply additional layers, repeating the process until the entire canvas is fully covered. This ensures that the rust effect is consistent across the surface, while still maintaining a natural, textured appearance. Now we let the canvas dry completely. At this stage, that means leaving it for more than 24 hours to ensure the rust layers are fully set and stable. Now that the rust has developed, I take a damp brush and apply burnt umber along the edges of the textured patterns, letters, and numbers. This helps to enhance the depth and contrast, making the raised elements stand out even more against the oxidized background. I continue this process over each element, being careful not to press too hard with the brush. The goal isn't to cover the elements completely, but to highlight their contours unevenly, creating a natural, aged look that enhances the texture and depth of the piece. This tutorial is coming to an end. Thank you so much for your support and for liking the video. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What other ideas or projects does this technique inspire you to try? Your feedback and creativity always inspire me.